Hi everybody, new Heather here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to my channel. Hope you're having an okay day, that it's actually awesome and that you know how awesome you are. Today is the 5th of August, 2025. 6 years ago to the day, I drove away from this house, which I bought back after a very grisly and protracted divorce from a covert narc, a narcissist. And I do make jokes on my channel, and I will say things like a farcicist, because it is a farce. And if you are trying to figure out if you're married to one of those, if you have a long-term partner or relationship with somebody that you think is on that spectrum, I will tell you that at every turn I underestimated what I was dealing with. And as a super high-functioning person who tried to do it all, as a mom, as a partner, as somebody that lives on this planet, I underestimated my capabilities at every turn. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean that I wasn't good at things. It meant in many cases that I was too good at things. And one of the things I was too good at was keeping going. Sometimes you have to quit. Sometimes you have to know when to hold them and when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to drive the hell away. Well, I didn't know how to do that. It took me a long time. And one of the reasons why was because I did play into it. Again, I got my notes. I did not clue into the fact that at no time was I ever going to be a full partner in the relationship that I thought was based on love. In fact, when you're dealing with a covert narc, they are really oftentimes good at making you feel one way, and you believe it and you buy it hook, line, and sinker. And it's not till you prove yourself wrong over and over and over again. So I want you to forgive yourself, and I want you to understand that you're not alone. Since I drove away in 19, there's a huge amount of awareness over this, and just like the word ubiquitous back in the day, the word narcissist is everywhere, because they are everywhere. So don't for a moment think that just because now that word's in the public lexicon, that it makes it any less impactful when you realize what you're dealing with. And when I say this, I say, when you see the tip of the iceberg, there's an iceberg. It is a big freaking iceberg. So I did play into it. He was a global business executive, technology, high-tech sales, extremely well put together, smart, good-looking, well-liked, successful. He was on the road a lot when we first got together, and I would actually have to say that it actually took me a while to figure out a lot of this, because he was on the road a lot. And that means from when I got together with him in 99, for 15 years of our relationship, he was on the road. So I saw things and I experienced things, but I was back at home making everything work at home. And so what did that mean? That meant when he came home, he wasn't there for a very long time. So in some ways, it meant that I didn't have to address some of the issues because he wasn't physically in my space. And that is not an excuse, but he wasn't there 24/7. And in fact, he would be on the road sometimes for up to 2 weeks. And what that meant was I was really good at keeping things running. So I did. And the narc will choose you, and you will choose the narc. But what you don't know is when you're allied with somebody like that and you think they're your partner, not only are you not their partner, but they are not your partner. Why? Because when push comes to shove and you need something, they're not there for you. and you get used to covering for them, and it hurts like hell when they're not there, but you get so used to operating on your own, you just keep going. And so I read the term recently, overfunctioner, and what that means, it's somebody who absolutely, they're going down with a ship. But I was not going down with the ship, and I learned, and I learned, and I learned some more. I did plan, I did get really strong. I had to be strong to leave, because even though I didn't actually understand exactly how bad it was gonna get, I knew it was gonna be effing bad. So just know you're not alone. Just know it took me 18 into 19 to get strong enough to leave, and then when I left in 19, for example, I completely underestimated the fact that he would not honor the order to vacate the marital home. Not only would he not honor it, but he would on purpose not look for another place, lie about that, lie to his lawyer, attempt to control all the everything. And that he knew when school was starting, he knew every day that ticked by was one day I had less money. He didn't exactly know where I was, and I made sure that when I executed on my op, that he didn't know where I was going to be. Why? Because he did try to geolocate us, and when he figured out where we were by using one of those things where you can put in a phone number and then it tells you what set of towers on what highway corridor it's pinging, when he was on the phone with the child, and I had the child put the phone on speaker on every conversation so I could hear what was being said, he mentioned the highway corridor that we were in. And that was a warning to me, because he knew I was listening, that he was trying to find us. And it was scary as hell, because by then, I didn't know what he was capable of, because he had ratcheted up his behaviors to the point where he did something that's called arrestable, only I didn't have him arrested. Why did I not have him arrested? Because I didn't know how to do that, because I thought that it would make it worse, not better. And to this day, I actually don't know if it would have made it worse, not better, but I knew I was 15 minutes away from any police come and help me, house by itself, no direct neighbors, nobody could hear us, nobody could see us unless we were right out front, long frontage, far back from the road, in a farm setting where in farmland, people whiz by your house at 50 miles an hour. They're singing along to the radio, talking on their phone, doing whatever. They're actually not looking into the yard. And if they are, it's just to wave and keep going. So I did feel completely alone. The stuff that went down in this house and in my pretty on the outside life, only the cats and dog knew what was going on. The boy, he was young. Me, I wasn't talking. And when I did try to talk, I did not have words for it. So I just want to let you know that if you feel pretty alone and if things seem really out of control, they are. And what you need to do is you need to take yourself seriously, your safety seriously, the child's and children's safety seriously. Anybody else that's in your house with that covert narc, all bets are off when the mask slips. And when the mask slips and they lose control and they go into a complete rage scenario, what happens is, if they have a substance abuse problem, or if they're highly, highly, highly stressed and aging, they lose the ability to dial it back. And if they are prone to a rage syndrome in this defect, then what happens is that the older the kid gets, for example, and the more the kid pushes back, the more that covert narc is going right for the kid. So in my case, what I would like to say is that from 18, when I started to get strong, to 19, when it was go time, it went all bad, and it went all bad 31 days before I was leaving. That was the 4th of July, 2019. I will never forget that day, and neither will the child. But the crazy part is that the person that did an arrestable offense was quite capable of lying about it, was quite capable of putting a spin on it, and was quite capable of being believed by their lawyer, by our friends, by investigative bodies that were ordered to get to the bottom of it. And because I had never called and I had never reported anything, and nothing like that had ever happened again, or before, I mean, the issue is there was no track record. So it became a he said, she said. So this is where actually making sure you have your notes, making sure you have stuff that you need off-site, making sure you have access to capital, making sure you have a track phone. It's where it all becomes critically important, because at a certain point, just like in the Patricia McLean story that I keep going back to, your personal Kim Jong is going to go so far off that you can't actually dial them back in, and they cannot dial themselves back in. So forewarned is forearmed. What happened in my case with that event, which I'm not going to trigger you, I'm not going to tell you exactly what went on, but I know what went on, the kid knows what went on, and he knows, the Kim Jong in the kitchen knows what went on. It went on in such a way as it occurred outside at the bottom of the back steps. I was all the way in the front of the house, and it's a really long old house because it's an old farmhouse. It's a big old Victorian farmhouse. It is long and it's got long hallways. I was in the front bedroom folding laundry, and when stuff went south, I heard noise and something in me said, go that way. So I ran to the back hall, all the way down to the end, and I looked out the window and I saw what was going on, and it was so intense and so frightening and so beyond anything that I have ever experienced before in terms of violence directed at the child, that in the states that you go in the syndromes that overtake your body to keep you alive, there's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. I will tell you, the child went into flight, which saved him from God only knows what could have happened to him. In my entire life, I have never frozen. I froze. And in the moment, I'm looking down from the top back window over the back steps, and I am seeing something go on so terrible that I thought that if I yelled, that my own son, my beautiful child, would be killed by his own father. And to this day, this is 6 years out, that person that used to claim to love me, that put a ring on it, not this ring, I've had this since about 7th grade, but the person that claimed to love me and claims still to love their child, the stuff that he did that day is forever etched in my mind. It's etched in that child's everything. And I regret, oh, I so regret not being able to even speak or move, which has never ever happened to me. But I thought, if I yell, I can't get down there and I can't get outside, it's gonna kill our son. And the hardest part was that because I wasn't adept at knowing what I was dealing with, and it was actually much further beyond what I thought it was, I stuck to my plan. I kept my head down. We did leave, we drove away, we drove somewhere safe. He actually, after he did that violent act, which thank God the child had fast feet, good reflexes, scrammed inside, locked the storm door, and locked the back door. I was still rooted in the same spot. I could not move, but I heard what my now husband said. I saw what he did after the child locked himself in the house, and I heard my child screaming like a wounded animal. I knew he wasn't hit because he got in the house. But the thing was, that person that claimed to love his child, he had something in his hand that if he had made contact with that child's body, that child might not still be here. That child could be brain damaged or dead. And to this day, that person that I married, that is the father of that child, has never addressed it with me. He did not apologize to that boy until 10 months later when his dad was in the house. I was over in a rental house across the valley. The child, because we did not have correct counsel to pull an order of protection for that child, and I did not file a police report because I knew I had 31 days till we were going to drive away. Even though I met with the chief of police 1 week after it occurred, I walked into the police station, which was connected to the town offices, which meant that when the kid was asleep in the car, I could park, I could say, honey, mom has to run in and get something from the town. I went in, I met with the chief. I had a letter, I had written everything up. I had clear written notes. And the chief, who I knew and who knew my family, he said, if you give me this letter, I'm duty bound to investigate it. And the subtext was, I know you're in trouble. I know that I'm gonna have to do something if you give me this. You've told me you have a safety plan. And he knew that he was 15 minutes away, even if his officers drove really fast. If a call came in and it was dispatched, nobody could actually get here. And he knew. So what he said to me was, Heather, you're gonna have to be willing to change your plan. You're gonna have to be willing for things to go sideways. And what you think isn't gonna happen might happen. And so you gotta be prepared. And basically, what he did was, he made me make a decision sitting in his office with him. And the decision I made was to stick to my plan. Why? Because I felt like if I didn't get out on this certain schedule, that because my now husband had done certain things, so at the press of a button, I would have no access to capital. I had a Doberman. I had two mature kitties, geriatric kitties. And at that point, a 12-year-old boy. I was not a sexy candidate for a rental. And I was not a sexy candidate for what was going on. And I didn't even know how deep, dark, and nasty it was until after I drove away. And if I had had that guy arrested, I wouldn't have had any protections at all because he was on the deed. He had keys to the house. There were like 3 or 4 doors to the house, and you could go through any window and nobody was gonna hear the screams, hear the yelling, hear anything, because our house is actually all by itself. So this is just me saying that in my experience of being an overfunctioner, I underestimated his capabilities, I overestimated mine, and by the grace of whatever guides you in the darkness, we were able to get through. I was led by guides and leaders that I cannot see, but I assume that they're my mom and my Graham, and I assume they are carrying that lantern so that when I step out in the dark, even if I don't know where I'm going, I am somehow led to safety. And that boy is only here because I believe they were protecting him that day. And you can say whatever you want to say about me and my boundarylessness, but I will tell you that every boundary I had, it was crossed. And after 19 years with somebody like that, you do not know which end is up. And so if you're in a situation where you have some secret Kim Jong, let me just tell you that it goes from 0 to 300 in nothing flats. Go read about Patricia McLean. I'm going to keep referring back to her. Beautiful life, pretty life, gorgeous life. People have no idea. And when they're singing along to American Pie and thinking Don McLean's the greatest, he is an abuser, a nasty man who tried to kill his own wife in their own house in the middle of the night in Camden, Maine. And the only reason Patricia's still here is because she had the presence of mind to have her cell phone on her, to lock herself in the bathroom in her very pretty house, and to call the cops and stay on the phone. And their response time was just quick enough because he was breaking down the damn bathroom door and he was going to kill her. So you have to take your life seriously. You have to take your children's life seriously. I completely miscalculated. I thought I should stick to my plan, so I did. And still to this day, 6 years out after driving away from my own pretty on the outside life, I will tell you I never expected not to be able to move or speak. And that in doing what I did and in making my plan, a flaw that I had in my plan was my underestimating how far up it would ratchet. And it was at the child, not me. I couldn't get to that kid. Thank God the kid got away. To this day, the counter narrative about how crackers I am, I'm a this, I'm a that. I heard it all at court and I did take it in and I let it hurt me and it clanked around and it did damage. But it is nothing like the damage that was done to that child that day on July 4th, 2019. So if you're with somebody that you think is not okay, chances are they're super not okay, and you owe it to yourself to get safe. You owe it to your children or child to get safe, your family members and your pets. And you are gonna GTFO because at no time are you safe with somebody like that. And when it's covert and they're down and they're dirty and you're stuck with them and you don't know what to do, you got to get help because you are out of your depths. All right. So yes, today I'm serious as a heart attack. I am not cracking jokes, but I will tell you that you are okay and you are worth the effort. So you're going to save yourself, but you got to have people on your team. So if you feel like that person that you're with is unsafe, you're not wrong. And just how unsafe they are, I hope you never have to find out. So I'm going to keep giving you tips, tricks, tools, and tactics, and I'm going to teach you how to blow up the bridges. When you're co-parenting with a narc after the court stuff goes on, the hardest thing is that if the court doesn't recognize what's gone on and your child is traversing between two homes, you're going to have to figure out how to try to keep your child as safe as possible, because then you're not in the house anymore and then they're traversing between two realities. So if you're a mom or a dad, I want you to look at books about co-parenting with a narc, divorcing a narc. There's a ton of books out there. There's a ton of resources online. Make sure you have a P.O. box. Make sure you have your own account to get books if you're ordering online, for example. And if you need to, don't use your home computer. Don't use your phone if there's any chance it could be tracked. You could go and you could use somebody else's computer if you feel like you have to do that. just know it could go south in a moment. And just like the chief said, it's gonna go sideways. It can and will go sideways, is what he said. He knew me. And I think that he understood what was going on. But at no time did I understand just how bad it was gonna get. Because when you out somebody and you start the proceedings and you try to get them out of the house, A, they're not gonna wanna leave. B, they're gonna F up your stuff. C, they're gonna F up your reputation. D, they're gonna F up your reputation. E, they're gonna F up your reputation. And they're gonna be so believable. They sow seeds of doubt about you, your character, who you are, what you stand for. And if you haven't told your friends because you're just trying to manage, guess what? They're coming for your friends. So please be safe. Here's the number for the domestic violence hotline, National Domestic Violence Hotline, 800-799-SAFE. Their text line is 88788. Then you text START. When you go to their website, you got to make sure your device is not being monitored. A warning will come up and it will tell you to make sure you're safe before you proceed further. And what I want to say is sometimes you overthink. You think you're safer than you are. And the thing about a covert narc is that you might not know what they're capable of. It's a lot. It could scare you to death or it could get you full dead. So take yourself seriously, take your children's life seriously, take your pet's life seriously. GTFO. If you like my content and you think it could help, or you'd like to support my channel, please subscribe, like, share, and tell me what you think. Because in a million years, I never expected to be in the position that I was in. And in a million years, I never thought I'd be sitting here telling you some of the stuff I'm telling you. But I hope it can help you. And I know in my heart of hearts, I completely underestimated what I was dealing with, who I was dealing with, and how he would do countermeasures to ensure that my reputation and standing in our community was destroyed. What did I do? I just kept my world as small as possible, made sure that after I filed, I did have access to mental health supports, and I did make sure that I had mental health supports that knew full well what domestic violence was. Because some therapists who will tell you they are trauma informed, they don't know shit about it. So you gotta go somewhere like the shelter network, and you get a volunteer therapist who has been through it, because they will treat you the way you need to be treated, which is with respect, believing you. And if you can only sit in their chair and cry, they're gonna help you to get past the tears and put it to words, because you need to get your healing going. So, what do I always say? I say, love yourself, baby. And just know you're not alone. And there's lots of people that have been through this. It sucks. It's terrible. Go to Patricia McLean's website, findingourvoices.net. You can see the scope and the breadth of what she's done and who she is to spin her own narrative based on truth and about the many faces of what domestic violence is and what it means to rise up and out of the mud. So with that, I wish you a beautiful day. And just know, no action that you think is safe when you're with a narc, no matter what you think, they're going to exceed what you thought their capabilities are. And that is the dirty truth. It's just it. So get help. Know you're not alone. And keep going, because you can get up and over. You might even buy your marital home back. And then, yeah, you might turn your dining room where you had such shitty times with your personal Kim Jong into your workspace, and you can have a heck of a lot of fun. All right. Take care. Bye.